With the printer driver DocuWare Printer, you can archive your documents directly in DocuWare from an application, for example Word or Excel. This allows you to store documents such as invoices, orders, or letters in PDF-A format in your file cabinet. At the same time, the document can also be printed out on paper, for example, to send to a customer. An accounting clerk sends by mail a large volume of invoices to customers. At the same time, they would like to store a copy of them in DocuWare. To handle this task easily, they simply print all the invoices from the ERP using DocuWare Printer. Because the structure of the invoice is always identical, DocuWare Printer recognizes how these should be stored, separates the documents automatically, and reads the index values directly from defined areas on the document. A letterhead is added to the first page of each individual document, as it is printed out on the network printer while simultaneously being stored in the accounting file cabinet. When you want to store a document in DocuWare, simply click on the Print command within your application and then select DocuWare Printer. In principle, this is possible from all applications. DocuWare Printer automatically identifies the document type and processes it according to previously created settings. The document is either stored in a specific file cabinet or basket, automatically indexed, and/or processed further. To use DocuWare Printer, you first create configurations. These configurations contain all the necessary information to identify and store a certain document type. Therefore, when archiving a document with DocuWare Printer, the appropriate configuration is automatically selected. The configurations are managed in the web client settings. If you have already printed a document in the basket using DocuWare Printer, you can also start the configurator via that document. On the home page, you will see an overview of the available configurations. Only the ones for which the user has administrator rights for are displayed. The individual configuration steps are shown in the bar at the top edge. When you create a new configuration, first enter a name for it and a description. Under Store Target, select which file cabinet or which basket the documents are stored in and which dialog is used for the indexing. Next, define how the documents are indexed. For this step, you first need a sample document. If you started the configurator via the basket, the document is already selected. You define how the indexing is performed using the document. The right-hand side shows the index fields in the selected Store dialog. Various tools for reading the document are on the left-hand side. You can use the Field Zone tool to draw areas that are to be read and assign them to a DocuWare field by dragging and dropping them. Company, contact, and project names are extracted from the document in this way. Predefined entries can also be assigned. These can be dynamic entries, for example, the user, or fixed entries, for example, the department or the document type. Of course, DocuWare Printer only reads fields correctly if the document type is always structured the same way, since the fixed position of these fields needs to be specified. Using the anchor, you can also define a reference point and assign the zone. You can find more details on this in the help. In the next step, you can add an overlay to merge with the document. As an example, an invoice that is to be printed on your letterhead and sent to the customer can simultaneously be printed with this overlay and stored in DocuWare by using DocuWare Printer. As a result, the documents stored in the file cabinet are identical to the documents being printed. Under Processing, indicate whether the document should also be printed out on a physical printer during the archiving process. Here, you can also print out an additional document, such as your general terms and conditions. This will save you from having to store a commonly used document, for example, with each invoice. The essential settings have now been defined to store and index a specific document type, in this case an invoice. In the next step, you must define when DocuWare Printer should use the configuration. Remember, different configurations can be created and used for different document types or scenarios. When to use the configuration may depend on the application in which the document is created. For example, perhaps you only create orders within a certain program. If you want to print from this program, the configuration created for orders should always be used. Please note, to use this function, the sample document must have been created with DocuWare Printer. When to use a configuration may also depend on a document type which can be identified through certain text found in the document. For this, draw a zone on the document and define what this zone should contain. In this example, this configuration is automatically used when a document contains the word invoice in the area drawn. Under Separation, you can define whether a multiple-page document should be separated into several documents. Specify here which page count a document should be separated. In the final step, you determine who can use and edit the configuration. Now when an invoice is printed from a program, DocuWare Printer automatically uses this configuration and stores the document with the extracted index words. To use DocuWare Printer, DocuWare Desktop is required. This application establishes a connection between the local computer and DocuWare web client. You install DocuWare Desktop via My DocuWare Install. DocuWare Printer is automatically installed as well. Under My DocuWare, you can also establish the connection to Web Client. With DocuWare Printer, you can store a document from your application in the web client at any time. The document is processed following the created configuration, which can include automated separation, indexing, and printing.